October 9th, 1942, at 1 p.m., a massive prison break would result in 6 long-term inmates escaping from this infamous Illinois prison. Most of them were incarcerated on robbery and murder charges. The mastermind behind the escape was Roger the Terrible Toohey. He successfully smuggled 2 revolvers inside the prison a few months prior. On the day of the break, Toohey, along with 5 others, would commandeer a garbage truck inside the prison, drive it to the mechanical room, taking hostages and ladders. Along with the guns, they had a Molotov cocktail ready for use. They approached one of the towers and fired several shots, while the others lifted the ladders up to the wall. They took over the tower without the guard firing a single shot. The group took his car and fled from the prison. This escape would garner media attention, as Toohey was a Chicago area bootlegger and competitor of Al Capone. It was later found that Capone had framed Toohey, resulting in his lengthy prison sentence for kidnapping. The escapees would only make it a few weeks and would be caught by the FBI. This infamous Illinois prison is Stateville Correctional Center. We'll dive into its history, facility details, and death chamber before finishing with some infamous inmates. Let's get into it. Just outside of Chicago is the city of Crest Hill, Illinois. It neighbors the larger city of Joliet, which has its own historical prison, Joliet Correctional Center, formerly known as Illinois State Penitentiary. Stateville is only 2.5 miles from Joliet Correctional Center. Crest Hill is a city of just over 20,000, formally incorporated on January 22, 1960, making it a fairly new city. Construction of the prison would take place in the early 1920s. It was hailed as one of the classiest prisons and one of the first to feature hot and cold water. The prison opened in 1925. The media at the time set up the prison with a sunlit outside room and a bath furnished free to every prisoner. No protest is heard here over inhumane treatment of inmates. Just because 2 convicts are to be crowded into each cell at the new, ultra-modern Stateville Penitentiary. Part of the facility featured an odd design for an American prison. F-House was built as a panopticon, or roundhouse, which features cells around the circular exterior of the prison, and in the center is an armed tower that can oversee the entire block. Due to its age and budget concerns, the roundhouse was closed in 2016, but will remain standing inside the prison due to its historical significance. Stateville sits on 2,264 acres of land. Surrounding the prison is a massive 33-foot concrete wall with towers to oversee the inside. Technically, Stateville Correctional Center is the parent institution of several other facilities. The Northern Reception and Classification Center and Stateville Minimum Security Unit are also located on the same property. The facilities have a current capacity of 3,172, but the prison has not been near capacity for some time. The oldest male at the facility is 84 years old. The average annual cost to house an offender at Stateville Correctional Center is $51,929. The mission statement for Stateville Correctional Center is to encourage and promote a climate of safe and secure conditions in which offenders and staff can develop positive attitudes, and encourage work and program opportunities and experiences that guide offenders toward reintegration into the community. The prison is classified as a maximum security facility with some of the most dangerous men in the state. Opening in 2004, the Northern Reception and Classification Center, or NRC, functions as the major adult male intake and processing unit for the entire state. The NRC contains 1,800 beds and 24 housing units. Within the NRC is also the Stateville Minimum Security Unit. Offenders admitted into the NRC are on reception status and thus have not received a classification level. The Stateville Minimum Security Unit, or MSU, can house up to 384 offenders in 2 units. MSU's offenders help support various functions within the reception center and maximum security prison. This facility has been open since 2003, significantly later than its parent institution. Noteworthy controversy erupted at the prison in 2009. Prison staff decided to house murderer Richard Connor in solitary confinement with another inmate. Jameson Leeser. Leeser was serving a much shorter sentence, 5 years, while Connor was a lifer with nothing to lose. The state came under fire for housing 2 men in solitary confinement, especially one that was extremely dangerous, with another who seemed to be lower risk. This case caused a change in policy. Illinois pledged to no longer house solitary confinement inmates in the same cell. Connor was sentenced to an additional life in prison in 2012. Several officers have been killed at Stateville Correctional Center. The 1970s were a particularly violent time for inmates and staff. Correctional Officer James Zeger was stabbed by an inmate in Cell House B on January 11, 1973. The inmate attacked him from behind and stabbed him 8 times, then threw him over the rail to the concrete floor, 40 feet below. The inmate, Paul Goffman, was denied parole in 2001 and would later die in the prison. Just 4 years later, Lieutenant Peter Bird was also stabbed by an inmate in his carotid artery. He would die at a local hospital. Just hours before that, another officer was stabbed by an inmate but would survive. More recently, in 1989, Correctional Officer Lawrence Cush Jr. was beaten to death at the prison. Prison staff had received a hit list from an inmate who called himself the Executioner. Officer Cush was a name on that list, which had 30. In part, the note read, "Lockdown ain't nothing but a vacation and room service for all. See you in hell." Several inmates were charged and convicted, with one, David Starks, still incarcerated. It was rumored that Latin Kings leader Gustavo Colon ordered the hit on Cush after he interrupted their flow of narcotics into the prison. There have been several inmates at Stateville to have been exonerated while in prison. Due to its maximum security level, many inmates here are serving life sentences for murder. Jacques Rivera spent 21 years in prison and was released from the facility in 2011. Lee Harris spent a whopping 33 years in prison for a murder he didn't commit. He was released from Stateville just recently in 2023.
I'm so grateful.
While capital punishment has been outlawed in Illinois since 2011,
we have abolished the death penalty in Illinois.
Stateville completed all executions in the state from 1949 to 1998. The death chamber was then moved to Tams Correctional Center. The state of Illinois has carried out executions at several other prisons across its history, including Joliet Correctional Center, Menard Correctional Center, and even Cook County Jail. Until 1983, the electric chair was the method of execution when it was changed to lethal injection. The electric chair remained at Stateville to be used as a backup method. In total, 11 executions by lethal injection were carried out at Stateville. The first lethal injection at the prison was botched, leading to excessive suffering by Charles Walker. Walker was convicted of robbing and killing 2 people to obtain beer money. Before we move on to another executed individual at the prison, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of my new content. Of course, the most infamous person to be executed at this prison has to be the killer clown himself, John Wayne Gacy. He was executed at the prison on May 10, 1994. A crowd of over 1,000 people had gathered outside the prison, mostly to cheer on the execution of the man who killed at least 33 people. Gacy allegedly told prison staff to kiss my ass just prior to his death. Other infamous inmates that have served time here include gang leader Larry Hoover. Hoover began his life sentence for a murder conviction in 1973 at Stateville. Mass murderer Richard Speck, who killed 8 student nurses in 1966, died at the prison in 1991 of a heart attack. He was only 49 years old. This was a profile of Stateville Correctional Center, a state facility in Illinois. Thanks for watching. As always, see you next time.